We got some interesting signs to talk about today, but I want to begin where we pretty much left off in John 17 and 18 in this study. And in John 18, in this fascinating section that has to do with the reset of time, we see Judas, who betrayed him, was standing with them. When Jesus said to them, "I am he," they drew back and fell to the ground. And that is in between the repeated sections. So what is it that's at the pivot of the reset of time? Well, we talked about the meaning of these words, and we talked about the word ground and how that related. And the word is used in John 18:6 as ground, and it's also used in John 9:6 as ground. And there's something I neglected to talk about there that really is pretty significant. So I'm going to go into John 9:6 here. And in verse 6, it says, "When he had said this, he, Jesus, spat on the ground and made clay of the spittle and applied the clay to his eyes." So he spat on the ground, and that's that same word in John 18:6. They drew back and fell to the ground. And we've talked about this as a time wave, gravity wave kind of a thing. There's some kind of a effect that sent them back where they had been before. And why this is really such a significant thing is because it's right at the pivot that is this reset of time with the revelation of Yeshua as himself in the presence of the betrayer Judas, who's a type of the lawless one. So the relationship here with John 9:6 is just simply on the basis of this word for ground, but these are the only two occurrences, and that is significant. We've talked about how that is relative to the Lazarus story and Cosma, which has to do in the Lazarus story with the great gulf that's fixed. And we see another supernatural event here in John 9 because there's a healing of the man born blind, which is a very significant healing. Much was made of this as a sign. And so the occurrence of that same word here, where Jesus spits on the ground, makes clay of the spittle, applies the clay to his eyes, and he says to him, "Go wash in the pool of Siloam," which is translated sent. So he went away and washed and came back seeing. Now there's another point of connection that needs to be made there, because the pool of Siloam is filled with water as time that is supplied by the tunnel of Siloam, which is also known as the tunnel of Hezekiah. And when I say Hezekiah, a lot of you are thinking, isn't that the king that had the sign, the miraculous sign that's actually a precedent for the reset of time? And I would say, oh yeah, it certainly is. Hezekiah dug out those tunnels during that period of the extension of his life. And he was given a sign, which is kind of a rare and really unique thing. He was given a sign that the Lord was going to heal him so he would recover and have an extension of his life for a fixed period of time, a specified period of time. And this sign was that the sundial of Ahaz would record the shadow of the sun going back 10 degrees, 10 steps. And so time was turned back. It wasn't just a shadow of the sun. The sun is a timekeeper. And so we see that connection with the sign of Hezekiah that is the precedent for the reset of time. And this is in the context here of this ground, which is applied to this man's eyes, and he's got to go there to the pool of Siloam and wash it off. And he comes back seeing in this remarkable miracle. So there's a very direct connection to the reset of time here in John 6, or John 9, verse 6 and 7. And so really that just adds more support to this as a a passage that's revealing something about the reset of time. And I want to make a note about this context here. In verse 11, this man is being questioned about whether he's the man who was blind. And he says, the man who is called Jesus made clay. And so he's bearing witness to Jesus. And this is revealing his identity because there's a prophecy there. And you can read about that here in the context. So this is a very significant revelation of Jesus's identity as one who is fulfilling an Old Testament prophecy because he's healing the man born blind. Connection here, Jesus is revealing his identity. Whom do you seek? Jesus of Nazareth. I am he. It's repeated twice, or said once and repeated. So again, in the context, we have several points of connection here. He answered, the man who is called Jesus made clay and anointed my eyes and said to me, go to Siloam and wash. So I went away and washed, and I received sight. So if you compare these two accounts, compare the account that we discussed from 1 Kings 19, you'll see that these comparisons continue to resonate with each other with respect to really more full revelation of the reset of time. And the reset of time, I have a note that I want to read here. The reset of time is appointed to be a revelation of Jesus of Nazareth as the King of the Jews, who is one with his Father and his people. The reset of time will be a witness at the time when the lawless one is revealed. And what will it be a witness to? Well, the identity of the one who sends. The one who is sent, which is a big focus in John chapter 17, right? And those who are sent that he sends, also a big focus. And so this is really got so many levels of comparison. It's resonating so strongly. It's just hard to express. So when we get beyond this section in chapter 18 and start talking about verses 10 and the unit of structure that extends all the way through chapter 19, verse 16, line A, you'll see that there's quite a few more points of comparison and much more reference to the reset of time. So we're looking forward to getting there and doing that, but we're not quite ready yet. Aaron?
Something that continues to come to mind, here in John 18 is when Jesus makes his declaration that I am he, matching up to them drawing back and falling to the ground. So his voice, his words precipitating an action. And then in John 9:6, he tells the blind man, go wash. So once again, it's Jesus's words and a proclamation precipitating action. So I continue to find that an interesting connection throughout these pieces of scripture.
Yeah, probably 2 points should be made before I move on. So he's told to wash in the pool and he comes back seeing. And when you talk about Ephesians 5, which we're going to go to later, you have a command that we're to be washed. And this is the bridegroom's washing of the bride to make her spotless. And really, this is so much a part of what this time reset is about, this extension of a season, this repeat of a season to prepare a bride. Like Rachel, whom Jacob worked for 7 years. And then he got Leah and he worked another 7 for Rachel. So the themes are resonating over and over again here. And to receive sight, that's what we've got to have. The open scroll, what we're kind of known for is decoding this and that. And there's a level of insight that requires a brighter light for inspection to see these things. And I know those of you who are here and have been sticking around because you find something compelling, it's because of the increased light. And it's not just, oh, Bob and Aaron. It's what happens to you when you are drawn to this and the Lord is working with you to open your eyes. And so this is a testimony here of the one who opens the eyes. This is not just the awakening that the worldly talk about, and many Christians who are worldly will talk about. This is not that awakening. This is not a Luciferian counterfeit. This is a legitimate, genuine. And this is what we need. And this is a large part of what this season is for. Aaron?
Into the context of a time reset, we see this individual, he goes away, interacts with water, and then comes back to where he started from in a different condition, which very much speaks to the time reset and the post-reset engagements.